morning. A little Smarties coffee talk to get you started on your Tuesday. And I can't believe it, but it's 7 o'clock and my kids are still sleeping. So I just wanted to take this opportunity for us to have a little chat, undistracted. I mean, is this like how life could be? They sleep past 7 o'clock. It's amazing. So, of course, I haven't been sleeping because I wanted to get up and look at the site today, but I'm really excited about some of the stories that we're covering. So a couple news items, quick news items I want you to know. The most consequential, potentially the headline that's most consequential is the one about the Defense Department authorizing 1,000 troops to be deployed to the Middle East. And the acting Secretary of Defense, Patrick Shanahan, was very careful in his statement to say that this is purely. Let me see if I can just read it directly. I think it's important. Hang on. I think I'll tell you why I think this is important how they phrased it. Because the United States continues to say they don't want a conflict with Iran, even though that's what the news is talking about a lot, is conflict. Secretary Pompeo, Secretary of State, says the United States doesn't want war with Iran. The Defense Department says this: they're deploying 1,000 additional troops for defensive purposes. So very clearly saying they're not there on the offense, they're there on the defense in case of threats in the area. Of course, this is coming less than a week after these oil tankers were attacked, America says, by Iran in the Middle East, and it comes just a few weeks after America deployed early an aircraft carrier group to the region where there wasn't an aircraft carrier group before. I don't want you to forget that happened. Remember, at that time, the U.S. government was very non-specific as to the reasons why they were going to increase America's posture in the Middle East. But clearly America is doing that. So it's not just about the deployment of 1,000 troops for defensive reasons. It's also that we have the aircraft carrier group in the region as well, and just something to continue to watch. So I want you to know that that's happening today. So I have the full statement and the quote on the website if you want to check that out. Second headline that I think you will see, but just want a little more background on it, is that over the course of the last year or so, the president has often said that he wants to withdraw foreign aid from certain Central American countries whose citizens are the highest number of those that are illegally crossing the U.S. southern border. That would include El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, the Northern Triangle. Yesterday, the State Department announced that they are going to be cutting some funding, some foreign aid to those countries. But there's a caveat to that that's very important. They're not cutting all aid to these countries. We have hundreds of millions of dollars going to these countries for any number of different reasons. And if you'd like, I can take a closer look at it. We have done it in the past. We can take a look at it again for different reasons, trying to help these countries that are, struggling in a lot of ways economically, as well as their own security when it comes to drug cartels. So $400 million, this is a rough approximation, is going to continue to go to these countries on programs that are continued over the last several years. Okay, so $400 million is still going, but we were going to send an additional $200 million for new programs that Congress has authorized. What the State Department is saying is that we're not going to be sending that new money. We're going to keep the current spending levels, but the new money that we were going to allocate, we're not going to do, and we want to work with Congress on different ways to allocate that. I am not sure, just thinking about it out loud, how that works. When Congress allocates money and then the departments decide that they're not going to use it, what the next steps are. So that's something I can take a better look at. But just in case you see President Trump cuts funding, you should know we're still continuing quite a bit of funding. It's just a portion of it that we're not going to continue. And finally, I thought this was a really interesting study in case you have pets. I have children, so I don't have dogs yet. But someday, a really interesting new research, small study, but interesting new research that said basically that dogs over the last several hundreds of years of domestication, thousands of years, have developed eye muscles that allow them to give you puppy dog eyes. And when researchers compared dogs to wolves, the wolves didn't have those muscles developed. And researchers think that dogs developed it because of the ability to get humans to do what they want. through their puppy dog eyes. So one of the things that's like a little bit like, again, of an asterisk on this is apparently wolves don't make a lot of eye contact, and because they don't need to, because they're a wolf. So researchers were saying maybe that's part of the reason too. But if you have a dog, I thought that was interesting for you to know. Also kind of excited about this. Were you guys into the Hunger Games? I read all those books. The next book in the Hunger Games series is going to come out next year. Sort of interesting. Thought you should know that as well. Okay, two other really quick points just because I can't help it. I love history, and Sotheby's is a famous auction house. Like, you know the name Sotheby's, right? But do you know, like, it's one of those things that, oh yeah, I know Sotheby's, but I don't know exactly why. Sotheby's is one of the oldest fine art auction houses in the entire world. It was just bought yesterday by a billionaire, and it's gone in and out of public or private ownership. So it looks like if this deal is approved, it'll become private again, which means that you can't buy stock in Sotheby's. But such a fascinating history, and has sold some incredible, pieces of art and artifacts really from the modern era. And I put a couple of those on the website. I thought it was interesting that Sotheby's started by a bookseller in London who liked to wear plum colored coats apparently, and auctioned off rare books. And so that's how it started. And then after World War I, if you guys watch Downton Abbey, have you ever done that? Downton Abbey it kind of chronicles what happens in England after World War I, where these elites that lived in the countryside, their lives are suddenly changing. Well, Sotheby's really made a name for itself when those estates started to change and they needed to sell some of their goods. And that's how they kind of became this auction house for fine art, but also books and other items that people have. So I thought that was really interesting. And then finally, Gloria Vanderbilt, an heiress, died. We call her an heiress, but we don't really know why. She was 95 years old. She's the mother of Anderson Cooper on CNN. And I just think it's important to point out that although she was an heiress, she was tied to the Vanderbilt family, the railroad magnate, these amazing wealthy families in America. And one wonders who are the next heiresses really out there. She really worked for her entire life in different ways, whether it was her painting or her jean line, which really was one of the more famous, successful jean lines of the last 100 years. So even though you see the word heiress, just know she worked for it. She worked for it for sure. All right, just a couple fun stories for you guys today. I'll check in with you later. Let us know if you'd like us to cover any stories. There's a lot of different news out there, and I'm curious what you'd like us to focus on. I've gotten some questions about what's going on in the Dominican Republic. We're going to take a look at that. It's been a little inconsistent, so it's been hard to kind of condense. But anything else that you'd like us to look at, we're here for you. So info@smarternews.com or direct message us on social media. Have a great day, guys. It's still quiet. They're still sleeping. It's amazing. I don't even know what to do when I don't have distractions. I mean, how do you, I don't know. So odd. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you later.